Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Hangout with Coach Kerry. In fact, this is episode 71, and today we're talking about how to wake up productive, how to get the important things done. I suspect that you are a solo entrepreneur, small business owner, and you struggle with a very long list of things to get done each and every day, each and every week, each and every month. And in fact, it may feel like you keep adding things to that list and not as many come off the list. Well, if that's you, then you have come to the right place. And today's episode, we're going to be talking about that specifically. For those who don't know me, my name is Kerry Brown, and I have been coaching people just like you for over 18 years. I've heard all of your stories. I know almost all the circumstances. And what is great is I've helped a lot of people just like you become much more productive. And in fact, I would even say that what I've learned, I've actually put into practice myself, which is what I'm going to be teaching you. Because just like you, I am a small business owner. I have lots of things on my plate. In fact, you know, my mom used to say it was like feeling like a one-armed paper hanger, right? So you have all things sort of happening around you all the time. And especially if you're juggling maybe a career as well, and you're working your business on the side, or you're a mom and you're working off your kitchen table, you know, it's really challenging to stay productive because it also affects your mindset. When you've had a good day, I guarantee you feel that you've got something important accomplished, you feel good about yourself, and you'll be able to then talk to people differently. Your posture around them will be different. You will attract people. You'll be able to use that positive law of attraction to be able to bring more business towards you. So today's episode, we're going to talk about productivity. But you know, I'll tell you that I wasn't always that productive. And in fact, what happened for me is I got caught in this notion of, well, I've got a full day of really no other appointments booked, so I've got lots of time. And I liken that to sort of looking out at the wide open prairie and seeing this vast space, so this vast amount of time, and thinking, oh, I've got lots of time. So what would happen is I would get up a little slower. I wouldn't do my morning routine as much. I'd maybe get caught checking my emails, and God forbid, I would go and check into social media first thing in the morning, and the next thing I know, it'd be 11 o'clock. Well, that really wasn't enough time for me to get into a major project, so I'll just do some other small things, and then, well, it's time for lunch. And the next thing I know, it's dinner time. And I'm tired, but I don't know why I'm tired, but I really don't want to maybe work at my desk any longer. And what I learned was it's because I didn't know the overall sort of overarching theme as to why I needed to do what I needed to do. None of the pieces all kind of fit together. I was doing these random pieces that people were asking me to do this. I was saying yes to that, all of that. But the problem is that I really didn't have a really clear picture, a real clear strategy as to how all of these pieces would come together. And so if you're focusing on the tactics, which means, you know, today, here's what I'm going to try and do. I'm going to try and get this and this and this done without really having a clear picture of what the strategy is first, I guarantee you're going to struggle with productivity. You're not going to be efficient, and you're going to be frustrated. And maybe that's exactly where you are right now. So what I'm going to share with you in this episode is what I learned that helped me become a highly productive individual. It's skyrocketed my business. I've got a solid six-figure income. I've got, you know, I'm working with incredibly talented people, my clients, and I get energy from them, and things are all going really well for me. So I want them to go well for you. So where does it all start? Well, it starts with you need to have a really clear vision of your business. You need to know where you're going to go. So that's your first step. You say, well, what does that have to do with time management? What does it have to do with productivity? It has everything to do with time management. Everything to do with time management. And why is that? Because again, as I said, if you don't know where you're going, anywhere will do. All of your activities will be random. Nothing will be strategic at all. So it starts with knowing where your vision is. Then it's setting those goals. It's being really clear on what are those specific benchmarks on your way to your vision. And when you're clear on that, then what you can do is you can create, in part of that process, you're creating that strategic plan. And even if you're a solo entrepreneur, a person of one, you need to have some kind of a strategic plan. Really important, because what it's going to do is actually going to give you clarity. Today I'm having a lot of fun with all of these signs, but I want you to understand that this is really important. So clarity is really important for you to have in your business, because if not, you are going to suffer from overwhelm. And again, that may be where you are right now. So what are some of the first things? Well, you need to be clear on, so again, I started with vision, then what are those goals? And all of that's part of this strategic plan. So what it's going to do is it's going to identify the strategies that you are going to implement. And those strategies then will end up showing up like some projects you're doing. So let's say, for an example, you're going to do a project which might be to create a better communication strategy with your potential and existing clients or customers. I know often in the day-to-day rush of what you need to get done, you're not thinking about those overarching things. Now that's really important. So you need to look at those overarching things and identify which are those projects that you need, that you're going to work on. And I'm going to recommend over the next 90 days, over the next 12 weeks. I'd like you to have that focus that you're going to really put the pedal to metal for that 12-week period. So what are those projects that you are going to move forward, and they're going to be part of reaching those goals that you've set? So here I'm going to get out into some real tactics. What I recommend that you do once you've got that strategic plan in place, and it's absolutely critical because it will drive, again, the strategies that you're going to do. It's going to drive the projects, and then ultimately the action steps, those tasks, those tactics that you're going to use, which is what you're going to be doing every single day. So how do you manage your time better? How are you more productive? How are you more efficient? You've got to have that foundation in place. And then here's what I recommend you do. On a weekly basis, what you're going to do is you're going to ask yourself, what are the projects that I want to move forward this week? And I'm going to give you a little tip here. This is a really valuable tip. I'm going to suggest in any sort of 90-day period, you have no more than 2 or 3 projects to work on at any given time. Now, why is that? Well, first of all, the power of focus. It's so important that you are focused on what you want to achieve. And if you have too many projects you're working on, it's hard to keep your focus. You're kind of jumping from here to here to here to here. I want you to be focused clearly on what those projects are. So 2 to 3 projects. And once you've identified them, then every single week, what I want you to do is I want you to review them. And I want you to ask yourself this question. What are really the 5 steps, the actions that I need to take to move my projects forward? And I want you to identify what those are. And ideally, I'd recommend you do this on a Friday, because the Friday gives you an opportunity to look back at your week and say, how did I do? What were the quality of the choices that I made? Because how productive you are is based on the choices of the actions that you take. So Fridays, and I even say Friday afternoons, because I don't know about you, but the amount of email that I get into my inbox, there isn't that much of it. It's not as busy. You know, Mondays are certainly busier days. Friday's the end of the week. If Friday doesn't work for you, if maybe you're working full time, then take some time Saturday morning to do this reflection. And then what you're also going to do is look ahead. So you've got your 2 to 3 projects really clearly identified. You may even put them on a whiteboard in front of, you know, somewhere in your home office, or in your office, or at the corner of the desk. You've got a place. So what those 3 projects are, and I want you to ask yourself, what are the 5 actions that need to happen in order to move this project forward over the next week? So you've picked your 2 to 3 projects, and now you're identifying what are the maximum 5 steps that you're going to take to move that project forward. So I want you to think about that right now. Take a moment and think about what are those projects. Of course, I'm assuming you've got some kind of strategy in place. You know why you're doing this. You've got your vision. You've got those goals clearly defined. They're measurable. So take a minute now and think about what are those 2 to 3 projects you have. And then Ask yourself, what are the 5 maybe steps, the action steps I can take for each of those projects to move them forward? Okay, so now what we're going to do is then what I want you to do is I want to ask you then, what are, because this is how you're going to wake up productive, is you've identified what those particular action steps are. Then what I want you to ask yourself, okay, then when are you going to do those? So I want you to write those down. I have, as you know, I'm very fond of a spiral notebook. I've got mine right here on my desk with my yellow highlighter, and I like to highlight out those things that I've gotten done. So you're going to transfer those into that spiral notebook, and you're going to identify what are you going to do tomorrow. So at the end of every day, I like to look at what my day was like, look at all the things that I got accomplished, what maybe didn't get done, ask myself what needed to be in place to make sure that I got those things done, and then identify those maybe 3 key action steps for tomorrow. If you've got 2 to 3 projects, then it's really key for you to be able to do that, or it's essential that you do that. So you identify what those are. So you're identifying what are those action steps tomorrow that despite everything else, I need to get those done. I also want you at the end of every day, actually, you can even do this at the end of your week, to think, look at that week ahead and ask yourself, who are the people I need to be in touch with this coming week? So this may be follow up on prospects. This may be an email that you need to send. So something around people. I want you to be thinking about who are those people that you need to be in touch with. Then I also want to think about who are the people you're waiting for something back. Because often we might have sent a proposal to someone said they might get back to us on a certain date, so you need to identify who those are. And then what I want you to do is I want you to put those into your spiral notebook, so you've got them captured there. And then I want you to decide when you're going to do them, and I want you to put them into your calendar. So ideally, you're using an electronic calendar. For those of you who are still old school, if you're using a paper one, I want you to transfer into that day, because here's what we know. Statistically, 75% of the things that you put into your calendar, or 75% more, will get done if you put them into your calendar than if you just leave them on a piece of paper or in your spiral notebook. So I want you to actually put them into the calendar, so actually there's a specific date for them. And the reason I like an electronic calendar, of course, is that it's going to send you reminders to do those. So just to kind of recap so far, what you know is the goals. What you've identified are the projects that you're actually going to do to move yourself towards those goals, 2 to 3 of those in the next 90 days. You've identified what are the key 5 action steps that you need to take, and make sure those are not projects in themselves. You need to actually determine if they're an action step. And how do you know if something's an action step? Because it's got a verb in front of it. And then once you do those action steps, then you'll have some more action steps. Then you'll have some more action steps. Then you'll have some more action steps. We're going to start with those 5 key action steps that you're going to identify. And then you're going to look at your week ahead, and you're going to say, okay, am I going to move these forward? The intention is yes. You're going to actually identify when you're going to do them, and you're going to put that into your calendar. You're also going to ask yourself, who are the people that I need to be in touch with? And who are the people I'm waiting on as well? Because that's really, really key. Then looking at, okay, of the priorities of those 3 things that I need to do tomorrow, which is the number 1 priority? Because you're going to do that first. So what I want you to do is I want you to stop checking your email and your Facebook or any social media first thing in the morning. Stop doing that. Unless that's what you do, unless that is your business, to be supporting people who are in social media and you need to know what they're doing. But other than that, do not do that. Because what we know is the most important time of the day, the time of day that you have most control over your day, is first thing in the morning. Now, again, I know for those of you who are working full time, this may not be. It also might be that you have to get up a half an hour earlier in the morning to get some things done in your business before you go off to do a job and then to come back. So again, what are the highest priority things, and you want to do those first. And highest priority is not looking at email, and it's not checking your social media. So get those 1 to 3 top priorities today done. Then you have an opportunity to be able to check your email and your social media. Now, when it comes to social media, what I'm going to suggest that you do is you actually put a timer on, because I know how easy it is to get caught in a loop of following down things, channels, and checking, and the next thing you know, an hour has gone by. So I want you to put a timer on, especially if all you're on there for is looking for updates on people that you want to connect with. Scheduling time in your calendar to do your own social media strategy is different than you going onto social media and checking it just to see what updates are. So don't fool yourself that you're actually doing social media for your business. So I want you to separate out those two. And again, those are action steps that you're going to take. Put them in your calendar, set aside that time, and block off that time to a specific amount. Now, when it comes to email, I've got a couple of tips that I think that might help you, in addition to not checking them first thing in the morning. So checking them at another time when you're not using as much brain capacity, because most of us are most productive and think at a higher level first thing in the morning than we do at the end of the day. Again, what you want to do is look at when your energy level is the highest. So here's what I want you to do. Something I call the 2-minute rule. And the 2-minute rule is when you go to check email, what I want you to do is I want you to be really set on a specific amount of time. And all I want you to do is process the email. So what that's going to look like is you're going to look at the emails that come into your inbox. And let's say you've got 20 new emails. I want you to make really fast decisions. What is this? Is it actionable? Is it junk? Is it something for reference? Is it, something for future? Is it working on a project? And I want you to decide that immediately. So of course, if it's junk, it's deleted immediately. If it's reference, I want you to just drag it into a reference file. See, the problem with most of us that have a whole bunch of emails in our inboxes is because of the fact that we actually have no idea where they're meant to go. So we see them over and over and over and over again, so they clutter up our brain. So what I want you to do is have a place for those. So if you've got reference, for an example, if you've got someday maybe, create those files and just drag them into there. So that's going to move those 20 emails pretty quickly. So now you may be left with 5, 6 of those emails. Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to just be able to discern which one of those can you respond in less than 2 minutes. So this is the 2-minute rule. So if you've given yourself 15 minutes to process your emails, and you now are at 7 or 8 minutes, okay, you've got a few minutes remaining when you can do some responses. So which are those that will take less than 2 minutes to do? And I want you to do those first to get them out of the way. Because the problem is if we sit down and we've only got a few minutes remaining and we've actually got a long detailed email that we have to send, you're not going to be able to get it all done during that time frame. And you're going to have half done, and then when you come back to it later, you're going to have to reread it over again, so it's incredibly inefficient. So what I want you to do is do those 2-minute things and get them out of the way, and then set aside a time when you're actually going to respond to those emails that take more thought. And I find that most of the time, returning those kind of emails at the end of my day are better, because I'll have done all of the things that need to get done first, and then I have time to sit down and actually compose the correct emails. So I want you to think about your day. When do you have the highest level of brain activity, enthusiasm, and you want to do the more challenging, higher level activities? Then you want to get rid of those emails out of your inbox so they're not bothering you, that they're there. And I want you to trust that you have a system to later on go back and respond to those emails by putting those notes in your calendars. So you may have, if you're using a reoccurring calendar, is at let's say 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock every day, you might put a reoccurring reminder that says respond to emails. And you may set aside 30 minutes to do that. So then you're going to be dealing with those specific emails. Now, you may have to do that kind of 2-minute rule process a couple of times during the day. So what is that when I say couple? Well, Kerry, you might be asking, don't I get a little envelope that says I have got a new email all the time? Please turn off your email alerts. It's an incredible distraction. And what we know is, in terms of productivity and time management, is the more distractions you have, the less productive you are. And what I want you to do is I want you to eliminate those distractions, and you be at choice. You decide when you actually want to look at those emails. So turn off your alerts and do that just a couple of times a day, especially if you're a person who visually gets highly distracted by a little message coming in. In fact, turn off your email program altogether, shut it down, and then open it up just a couple of times a day. I've recommended clients do this, and their efficiency has increased significantly. So turn off those emails and just deal with them at a specific time of day. Now, of course, distractions are one of our biggest challenges in terms of time management and productivity. And here's what I'm going to say, is that if you are really clear about where you're going, if you're passionate about the goals that you want to achieve, if you're passionate about that vision, you've established what those goals are, you have established your strategic plan, and you know where you're going, I will guarantee you it's much easier to stay focused than if you have no idea where you're going, because any distraction will pull you in any direction. In fact, often what happens is we end up saying yes to so many different things because we don't have a reason or rationale to say no. So if you have a good plan, then you can say no more often. You can say no to things that aren't part of your plan, and you can say yes to those things that are part of your plan. So say yes if you want to work on your plan. Absolutely. I'm sure you are, because that's why you're here. So let's kind of recap today's episode, because I've covered off a lot. Is that productivity and how to be more productive and how to wake up productive is you have to know where you're going in your first place. And you need to focus on building that strategic plan. That's a really key piece for you. Then what you have to do is you have to decide, what are those goals? What are those benchmarks along the way that are part of that strategic plan? And then what are those projects? And then distilling it down to, what are those actual projects this week that I'm working on, and what are the action steps I'm going to take to move those forward, to move those projects forward. And you're going to do this at the beginning or the end of a week to look at your week ahead, and you're going to design what those are, and you're going to put them into your calendar. Then what you're going to do is you're going to ask yourself, who are the people that I need to be following up with, just to make sure that that no one's that no one slips through the cracks. Then you're going to ask yourself, who am I waiting for? Maybe their system isn't as efficient as it needs to be, and there's people who need to get back to you. Then you need to ask yourself, what are my priorities for tomorrow? What are the top 3 priorities? What's the first one? What's the second one? What's the third one? And then you're going to tackle those first. You're going to stay away from distractions. You're going to turn off all of those alerts, and you're going to focus on those things first. And here's my challenge to you as your coach. I'd like you to do that for today. And I want you to check in how you feel about what you've done. How you feel. Are you feeling productive? Are you feeling inspired? My hunch is you will be, because you will trust that you will be getting the important things done. And at the end of the day, that means you're going to wake up ready and raring to go and be productive in that day. And not necessarily getting everything done, but getting the important things done. Because productivity and time management, as you've maybe heard me say before, if you've been watching my other episodes, it's not about getting everything done. It's about getting the important things done. And you have to be able to step back in order to determine that. So we've covered lots today on this episode. I really encourage you to implement these strategies, these productivity strategies that I've recommended for you. And another thing I really want you to do is I want you to go to my website and grab my book, How to Get Out of Overwhelm and Accelerate Your Results Now. It's free on my website. Download it, and there's some great tips really along the line of what I've talked about today that are in there as well. And then you'll also get notifications of upcoming episodes of Hang Out with Coach Kerry. You can watch them live at 9 a.m. Pacific time. You can watch them live, or you can watch them on my website, HangOutWithCoachKerry.com. And again, Kerry, as you can see below, is spelled Kerry. I've got 70 episodes there, soon to have 71. Lots of resources there for you. They're all designed to give you the information you need in order to be successful. So please come and join me. Comment on the blogs or the posts that are there and my blog, and let me help you be successful. So until next time, be inspired. Have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye.